My sister, Vivian Rivers, married the powerful and influential prince of the city's elite circle, but the prince was a psychopath who tortured her until she went insane. I, Mia Rivers, married the prince's assistant, Brent Sanders. Although Brent had neither money nor power, he was extremely gentle with me. Later, he even took over the prince's position, allowing me to live a life of luxury. Vivien, consumed by jealousy, stabbed me to death. When I opened my eyes again, in what seemed like a second chance at life, Vivien immediately chose the assistant, Brent Sanders. She gloated to me, "This time, you'll be the one tortured for life, while I'll be happy forever." How naive could she be? Did she really think the assistant was a good person? ####1. As I opened my eyes, I saw Noah Yates, the city's most eligible bachelor, sitting at the head of the table. Standing beside him was his assistant, Brent Sanders. Suddenly, my sister Vivien rushed over, grabbed Brent's hand, and excitedly said to Noah, "Mr. Yates, I like your assistant. Can I have him as my husband?" At these words, my dad immediately stood up from his seat, visibly angry. "Vivien, what are you doing? Stop this nonsense. I'm not joking around." "I really like Mr. Yates' assistant," Vivien replied defiantly, throwing a smug look in my direction. It was at that moment I realized she had also been reborn. In my previous life, Dad had brought Vivien and me here for Noah to choose his future wife. This arrangement was supposed to help our family's company climb to new heights. But my dad had always favored Vivien, so naturally, he didn't want me to marry the powerful and wealthy Noah and live a life of luxury. So, he had warned me beforehand, "If Noah chooses you, you must reject him and choose his assistant instead. Otherwise, I'll make sure your birth mother doesn't survive." Vivien and I are half-sisters. My mom is in a nursing home, and Vivien's mother is now my stepmother. To ensure my mom's survival, I had no choice but to agree to my dad's demands. When we arrived, Noah actually chose me. I had to reject him and choose his assistant instead. Then Vivien seized the opportunity, saying she really liked Noah. At that time, Noah's eyes were dark and unreadable. He simply said in a flat tone, "Fine, you'll be my wife from now on." But after Vivien married him, she didn't live happily ever after. Noah turned out to be a psychopath who enjoyed torturing women. He kept Vivien locked in the basement, using all sorts of methods to torment her. Meanwhile, I married his assistant, Brent Sanders. Although Brent wasn't rich or powerful, he was extremely gentle with me. He would take me to work with him every day, just to take care of me. Later, he even killed Noah and took his place, allowing me to live a life of luxury. Vivien became insanely jealous and ended up stabbing me to death. When I opened my eyes again in this new life, Vivien had promptly chosen the assistant. She gloated to me, "This time, you'll be the one tortured for life, while I'll be happy forever." How naive of her. Did she really think the assistant was a good person? "I want to marry Brent Sanders," Vivien insisted once more. My dad was furious and could only turn to Noah to explain, "Mr. Yates, my eldest daughter is being foolish. But don't worry, if you like her, I'll make sure she marries you." "No," Noah said softly. "I'm not interested in her, but my assistant is single, and I think they'd make a good match." Hearing this, my dad's face darkened. He had originally hoped for Vivien to marry into wealth and power, but with Noah's words, he couldn't refuse now. That left only me. Noah's captivating eyes fixed on me intently. "Mia, would you like to marry me?" Although in my previous life, Vivien had been tortured to death by him. But because Brent took me to work every day, I had a lot of contact with Noah and realized he wasn't truly a psychopath. It must have been something Vivien did that made him so cruel to her. "Mia, Mr. Yates is asking you a question. Don't you want to marry him?" Vivien suddenly spoke up, watching me like it was some kind of show. I smiled, "Of course I do." With these words, not only did Vivien smile smugly, but even Noah's lips curved into a slight smile. I didn't know why he was smiling, and I didn't want to know. All I knew was that this time, I would send those who had hurt me before, step by step, into the abyss. The wedding date was quickly set. As Vivien passed by me with Brent, she whispered, "This time, you'll be the one tortured for life, while I'll be happy forever." I raised an eyebrow slightly. "Is that so? We'll see who ends up being tortured." Vivien gritted her teeth in anger at my words. "Just you wait, your misery is about to begin." She had barely finished speaking when Noah approached. Frightened, Vivien's face turned pale, and she scurried away with Brent. Noah was very tall, looking down at me. "From now on, you'll be my wife. If you have any requests, feel free to make them." "Any requests?" Well, wasn't this just heaven sent? In my previous life, at this time, Noah had an important project that he assigned to Brent. Brent had secretly embezzled a lot of money from it, which later provided him with the financial means to have Noah killed. After all, with money, he could hire people to do his dirty work. This time, I wouldn't let him succeed. Not only to prevent Noah from being killed but also to get revenge on Vivien. I knew Brent all too well, he was the real psychopath. If he lost this project, his temper would become even more volatile. Vivien's days would become even better then. I looked at Noah. "That project in the suburbs, I want you to give it to me, not to Brent." I thought he might ask me why. But he didn't ask, he just agreed immediately. He even suggested taking me to see our future home. Noah took me to an exclusive neighborhood where land was worth its weight in gold. Only the rich and powerful could afford to live here. Noah was indeed very wealthy, this was something I had known in my previous life. I figured that in this life, as long as I didn't offend him, his money alone could ensure I lived well for the rest of my life. Love? Well, I wouldn't hope for that. So, I took the initiative to hold his hand, trying to please him. "Honey, I really like it here." "Still calling me honey?" He stared at me intently, his eyes seeming to see right through me. I quickly corrected myself, "Darling." He smiled with satisfaction and handed me a check for $5 million. "Here, spend it as you like." My eyes lit up. I really needed money, and this was perfect. Then he took me to see our future home. Strangely enough, the interior design was exactly to my taste. I didn't understand how he could know me so well. I was about to ask him when he suddenly kissed me, silencing all my questions. That was moving a bit fast. When the kiss ended, I suddenly saw Vivien standing outside, her eyes glaring at us viciously. She must be furious, wondering why I wasn't being tortured. In my previous life, Brent took me to work with him every day. It seemed like he was taking care of me, but in reality, I was serving him. When he was tired, he'd make me massage him, and when he was unhappy, he'd hit me to vent his frustrations. Once, he punched me so hard my nose bled. When I went to the bathroom to clean up, I ran into Noah. He frowned. "What happened? Who hit you?" I didn't dare tell him the truth because Brent would beat me if I did. So I lied, "It's nothing, I just have a medical condition that causes frequent nosebleeds." After hearing this, he gave me a check for $100,000 to get treatment. Then he left. It was at that moment I was certain he couldn't be a psychopath. After all, a psychopath wouldn't be so kind as to help a stranger. Brent, on the other hand, was the real monster. Vivien thought she had escaped from the frying pan. In reality, she had jumped from the frying pan into a raging fire. After Noah dropped me off at home, Vivien grabbed me and pulled me into her room, glaring at me fiercely. "Did you drug Noah? Is that why he kissed you willingly? Just you wait, it won't be long before you're locked in the basement, bitten by dogs, and living with snakes and rats." As she spoke, she raised her hand to hit me. I quickly caught her wrist and pinned her against the wall. In a very soft voice, I said, "Vivien, instead of wasting time arguing with me, you should think about your own future." Her future would be ruined by Brent, reduced to a pile of mush. But I didn't want to tell her what kind of person Brent really was. Whether in my previous life or this one, she never wanted me to be happy. I wasn't kind enough to let someone who had killed me before have a good life. She was shaking with anger, her teeth chattering. The show's just beginning. When you're tortured beyond recognition, let's see if you'll still be so smug. With that, she shoved me away and stormed out of the room. Watching her leave in her spaghetti-strap dress, her fair calves exposed, I couldn't help but smile. Yes, the show was just beginning. Vivien, soon your fair skin will be covered in bloody wounds. The next day, Brent came with engagement gifts to formally propose to Vivien. He lovingly pulled Vivien into his arms and said to our parents, "Don't worry, I'll take good care of Vivien in the future." His idea of taking good care involved tying up his wife and whipping her with a thorny whip. He would also inject various drugs into his wife's body, causing her to lose control of her bodily functions. I wondered if Vivien would be able to endure this so-called good care. At the moment, Vivien knew nothing of this and was smiling brightly in Brent's arms. When I went to the bathroom, she couldn't resist following me to brag. "See? Brent loves me so much. My happy life is just around the corner." As she spoke, she pulled out a bottle of yellow liquid, laughing coldly, "In a few seconds, your pretty face will be gone. You won't be able to seduce Noah anymore. He'll be disgusted just looking at you." With that, she was about to throw the liquid at me. I dodged to the side, intending to grab her hand, but someone beat me to it. It was Noah. He snatched the bottle and splashed the contents onto Vivien's face. Immediately, she let out a piercing scream. "Ah!" Vivien fell to the ground, clutching her face and writhing. Brent and our parents rushed over. "Oh my God, Vivien, what happened?" Vivien cried and screamed, "It was Mia. Mia did this to me. Brent, quick, teach her a lesson." "What the hell? Was she blind? I hadn't even touched her." Brent didn't listen to her. Instead, he quickly apologized to Noah. "Mr. Yates, I'm sorry. I didn't discipline my wife properly." Noah pulled me into his arms, his voice cold. "If anyone dares to touch my wife again, I won't let them off easy." The room fell into a deathly silence, no one daring to speak. Vivien, covering half of her face that had been corroded by the acid, trembled in fear. I looked at my dad, who was looking at Vivien with concern. But only I knew that he wasn't really worried about Vivien. In my previous life, he knew very well what kind of person Brent was, which was why he had me marry him. In this life, when Vivien chose Brent, he didn't stop her for the sake of the engagement gifts. He didn't even tell Vivien what kind of person Brent really was. None of the people before me were good. I wouldn't let any of them off the hook. After Vivien's face was injured, her wedding to Brent was postponed, but they went ahead and got their marriage license. Noah's status in the city was unrivaled. Although he had disfigured Vivien, she didn't dare say anything, forced to swallow her anger. Brent was at the hospital every day taking care of her, playing the role of a good man. Only I knew that Brent was just keeping up appearances. He actually hated Vivien and was probably tormenting her in the hospital every day. After all, I knew Brent too well. He was a person with an extremely strong desire to win. Vivien had made him lose face in front of Noah, so he would definitely punish her severely. Meanwhile, my revenge plan was still in progress. The project I had asked Noah for last time, he had given to me as promised. I deliberately had people spread some false rumors, making outsiders believe that Noah had given me the project because Brent was too busy taking care of his wife. When this news reached Brent's ears, he would likely take out all his anger on Vivien. To confirm this, I secretly went to the hospital to check on Vivien. I saw Brent grabbing her throat, violently hitting her face. "I worked for months on that project, and because of you, all my plans were ruined. You should just die." As he spoke, he stabbed her fair arms and legs with a needle. Brent was truly an unhinged psychopath. I quietly recorded this scene with my phone. "Vivien, you thought that by switching lives with me this time, you would live happily. So, are you regretting it now?" That evening, I asked Noah to call Brent back to work and to give him another important project. Noah agreed without hesitation, as always. I asked him, "Why do you never ask me why I want these things done?" He pulled me close, his eyes fixed on mine. I support whatever you do. Our wedding is set for next month. If there's anything you're not satisfied with, make sure to tell me. As he spoke, his hand had already found the zipper of my dress. In the time I had spent with Noah, he hadn't mistreated me like he had Vivien in my previous life. Instead, he supported everything I wanted to do. I was quite curious about what Vivien had done to offend him so badly. Focus, baby, his voice pulled me back from my thoughts. My dress was already on the floor. We were engaging in the most intimate act, but without love. But I felt satisfied. After all, he was helping me get my revenge quickly. When Brent returned to the company, he brought Vivien with him. One side of Vivien's face had been corroded by the acid. Although it had been repaired, it was still wrinkled and looked monstrous. She glared at me viciously, her nails digging deep into her palms. As she passed me, her voice was ice cold. Mia Rivers, just you wait. I won't let you off easy. Of course, I knew she wouldn't let me off. That's why I never planned to sit back and do nothing. In my previous life, to make me cooperate and maintain his good guy image in public, Brent regularly injected a drug into my body. If I didn't obey, he would inject another drug that reacted badly with the first one. This would cause me to lose control of my bodily functions, have seizures, and feel like death would be a relief. That's why I had Noah bring Brent back to take over the project. When he was close to succeeding, I would release the video from the hospital online. It would drag him down from his high horse. Killing two birds with one stone, it was the perfect plan. Brent started working hard at the company. At the same time, he was posting online about how much he loved Vivien. Making her heart-shaped lunches every day, buying her flowers, dressing her in pretty dresses. In my previous life, he had used this bringing wife to work gimmick to gain a huge following. He even became an internet celebrity, making quite a bit of money. But only I knew he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Soon, it was time for the project launch. Brent, as the main person in charge, went on stage to give a speech. Before going on stage, he posted a photo on Instagram. It was a picture of Vivien sitting in the front row. The caption read, "With my wife's support, I'm full of energy. After this project launch, I plan to take her on a vacation." The comments section was full of people shipping them. Wow, cool and disfigured sister X hardworking puppy boyfriend, perfect. Even though the sister is disfigured, the puppy boyfriend didn't abandon her. What a fairy tale love. Rooting for you guys, hope you'll be happy forever. I sat in the row behind Vivien, smiling to myself. Fairy tale love, huh? They were about to get a rude awakening. Being able to stand here and speak today is not only due to Mr. Yates' trust but also my wife's support. Brent began his speech on stage. In my previous life at this point, he had already risen to power through these projects. And he was already plotting to kill Noah. But Noah had reached his position through years of hard work and struggles. I couldn't understand how he couldn't see through Brent's schemes. I had no way of knowing, so I could only use my own methods to help him, which was also helping myself. Because if he fell, I would lose my support. The audience burst into applause, and Vivien looked smug. She turned to look at me, see? Even though I'm disfigured, Brent still loves me. Mia, don't think you're so great just because you seduced Noah with your body. Let me tell you, your support is about to fall. I laughed softly. Oh, really? Then look at the stage. At that moment, instead of the project plans that should have appeared on the big screen on stage, a video of Brent abusing Vivien in the hospital was playing. Immediately, the whole venue was in an uproar. Brent's face turned pale. No. I'm not that kind of person, let me explain. But people only believe what they see with their own eyes. The reporters I had arranged swarmed forward, quickly capturing images of Brent and the video. Vivien's wrinkled face twisted in anger. She stood up and lunged at me. You bitch, it must be you who arranged this. I'm going to kill you. I dodged to the side, and she fell hard on the ground. Because of her sudden movement, a section of her arm was exposed, covered in dense bruises and fresh whip marks. Looking at her disfigured face, I crouched down and gently wiped her arm with a handkerchief. "Vivien, it looks like you're the one being tortured this time, huh?" At these words, her face contorted with rage, her eyes filled with fury. "I'll kill you. Kill you." I immediately started playing the victim. "Vivien, what have I done wrong? Why do you want to kill me?" The reporters quickly captured images of me and Vivien. I'm sure by now, Vivien and Brent were trending topics. Vivien's days were about to get even worse. The scene was chaotic, and I turned to leave. Noah was waiting at the exit, wearing a black coat, looking like he had been waiting for me for a long time. Seeing me approach, he took off his coat and draped it over my shoulders, then took my hand. "Tired? Let me take you to dinner." His voice was extremely gentle, his hand warm. For the first time, I felt a sense of security. I looked up at him. "Noah, why do you never ask me why I do these things? Aren't you afraid I'm a vicious woman?" He tightened his grip on my hand, his voice very soft. "I know you. You're not." But how could he know me? Since my rebirth, we had known each other for less than a month. I wanted to ask him more, but he had already pulled me into the car. The next day, I saw that Vivien and Brent were trending topics on Twitter. /# Brent Sanders sadist. / Vivian Rivers mentally ill. The fans who used to support them were now cursing them out. Brent's Instagram followers dropped by half, and all the lovey-dovey videos he had posted with Vivien were hidden. Noah had also fired him. Moreover, he had to pay $8 million in compensation for the project losses. For Brent in this life, that was an astronomical figure. He must be extremely angry now. I wonder if Vivien would suffer the same drug torture as I did before. As the wedding date with Noah approached, he became exceptionally attentive to me. Not only did he take me to get a custom wedding dress, but he also personally designed the rings. One day, Noah was busy with work, so I went to pick up the wedding dress alone. On the way, I ran into Vivien. In just a few days, I could barely recognize her. She was wearing a black mask, had lost a lot of weight, and was dressed in long sleeves and pants. But she still couldn't hide the needle marks on her neck. She glared at me viciously. "Mia Rivers, did you also get reborn? Did you already know Brent was a psycho and deliberately let me choose him?" I laughed lightly. "Don't accuse me falsely. You chose him yourself, I didn't force you." She clenched her fists in anger, but this time she was smart enough not to attack me rashly. "Mia Rivers, even a cornered rabbit will bite. Don't think I have no ability to fight back now." As she spoke, she suddenly came close to me, smiling like a madwoman. "I killed you in the last life, and I can do it again in this one. Brent might not like me, but he'll replace Noah's position later. I'm legally married to him. No matter how he treats me, I'm still Mrs. Sanders. When the time comes, even if you kneel and beg me to spare you, I won't. I'll cut your flesh to feed the dogs and use your bones to make soup." As she finished speaking, she suddenly pulled out a syringe and tried to stab it into my neck. I quickly grabbed her hand and turned it, injecting the contents into her neck instead. Her eyes widened in shock. When did you get so strong?" I smiled lightly. "Vivien, no one stays in the same place forever. Otherwise, it's a dead end." With that, I pushed her to the ground. The drug started to take effect, causing her to foam at the mouth and convulse. I simply turned and left. Vivien had always thought about using men to change her fate. Little did she know, fate is in one's own hands. From the first day I came back, I vowed to get revenge on those who had hurt me. So I worked hard to strengthen my body and tried to please Noah, using him to help me. For the sake of revenge, I didn't dare slack off for a moment. A month later, it was time for my grand wedding with Noah. Everyone in the city knew how much effort he had put into this wedding. From booking the most luxurious hotel in the city to having our photos printed on the paper cups, no detail was overlooked. Since our last encounter, Vivien hadn't sought me out. However, today, Brent, and our dad all came to attend my wedding. After a month, her condition had improved significantly. It seemed she had undergone plastic surgery, as many of the scars on her face had diminished. She wore an elegant dress and held Brent's arm, smiling graciously at the reporters. Brent treated me that way before because he had some psychological issues and couldn't control himself. Now he's fully recovered. Brent hugged her and kissed her forehead. Yes, it was indeed my psychological problem before. Thankfully, Vivien didn't abandon me. She stayed with me for a month, and my condition has improved. As if anyone would believe they were truly in love. Only I knew that Vivien must have reached some sort of agreement with Brent. But over this past month, I hadn't been idle either. At this moment, Noah was already holding my hand as we walked onto the stage. "I love you, Mia," he said, looking at me with deep affection, as if we were soulmates destined to be together. I smiled. "I love you too." After we kissed, he whispered in my ear, "Don't worry, I'll protect you for the rest of our lives." After the wedding ceremony, Noah went to entertain the other guests. At this time, Vivien approached me with a glass of champagne. "Congratulations on your wedding, sister." Looking at the swirling liquid, I laughed softly. "Vivien, what era are we in? Are you still using such a cliché method?" She laughed too. "You don't think I poisoned the drink, do you? I'll drink it to show you." She took a sip from my glass, then handed it to me. "Mia, I've really thought things through. I think we've both been through enough. Let's get along from now on." "Is that so?" I couldn't shake the feeling that she still had some scheme up her sleeve. But seeing as the drink seemed fine, I took a sip. After drinking, she suggested we go to her car to get the wedding gift she had for me. But as soon as we got in the car, I lost consciousness. In my hazy state, I heard her laughing in my ear. "Sister dear, you probably didn't expect I'd hide the drug under my fingernail, did you?" "Haha." Brent laughed too. "Looks like you're still useful. We'll use her to blackmail Noah later." But how could they possibly blackmail Noah? Noah didn't even love me. When I regained consciousness, I found myself in an abandoned warehouse, tied to a chair. In front of me were Vivien and Brent. With a loud slap, Vivien rushed over and struck me across the face. "You bitch, do you know how much I've wanted to kill you this past month?" I laughed. "Vivien, is this all you've got after a month of training?" My words angered her even more. She drew up a syringe full of some drug. "I'm going to make you experience my pain." However, Brent stopped her, glaring at her fiercely. "We can't hurt her yet. Wait until Noah hands over the company to me." Hearing this, Vivien had no choice but to back down, reluctantly putting away the syringe. "Just you wait, I'll finish you off soon." By this time, Brent had already called Noah. "I have your wife. Bring the share transfer documents, or I'll kill her." In my previous life, I never knew how Brent had killed Noah. I only knew that one day he went to deliver coffee to Noah, and when he came out, he had the share transfer documents. Not long after, Noah died. So for the past month, I could only wait for them to make their move, and then send them to hell. That way, I could finally feel at ease. "Brent, you don't really like my sister, do you? Once you get Noah's shares, you're going to kill Vivien, aren't you?" I started to provoke him. In my previous life, after he got Noah's shares, to the outside world, it looked like I was living a life of luxury. But in private, he treated me like a lab rat. Every day, he would inject various drugs into my body, trying to torture me to death. But unexpectedly, Vivien beat him to it and killed me first. Then, I turned to look at Vivien. "Vivien, I don't know how you two came to an agreement, but aren't you afraid he'll still torture you later?" "Shut up, you bitch. What nonsense are you spouting?" Brent rushed over and grabbed my throat. Vivien glared at me maliciously. "Even if Brent doesn't love me, he'll still give me money to spend. I'll be happy for the rest of my life." "Is that so?" I managed to say. "Vivien, have you forgotten? Brent is a psychopath." Even with money, he won't be able to control his urge to torture. Before I could finish, Brent stabbed me in the stomach with a knife. As the pain hit me, all I could see was my white wedding dress being stained red. At that moment, Noah burst in, swinging a metal bar hard against Brent's body. "You bastards can all go to hell." It was the first time I had seen him so enraged. I had thought he wouldn't come. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. Noah's eyes were bloodshot, and he was holding my hand tightly. "Are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere?" His voice was hoarse, clearly he hadn't rested at all while watching over me. I'm fine. What about Vivien and Brent?" Hearing this, Noah's voice suddenly turned cold. "They've been sent to prison. I've also arranged for some special care for them." Hearing this, I breathed a sigh of relief. I had finally made sure they could never cause trouble again. I had guessed from the beginning that Vivien would definitely try to harm me. I just wasn't sure when she would make her move. When she showed up at my wedding, I guessed she would act then. So I secretly wore a watch with a GPS tracker, then drank the drugged champagne. At the warehouse, when they weren't paying attention, I called the police. I deliberately provoked them to make them hurt me. It was to ensure they would stay in prison for the rest of their lives, never able to get out. I just didn't expect Noah to arrive before the police. Noah suddenly hugged me tightly, as if afraid of losing me. "Don't be so reckless in the future. If there's anything, I can handle it for you." I slowly raised my arms to hug him back. "Okay." The day I was discharged was a bright, sunny day. Just because I said I didn't want to ride in a car, it was too stuffy. Noah went and bought an electric bicycle, even decorating it with lots of flowers. "Come on, I'll take you home." I smiled as I got on, holding tightly to his waist. "Let's not go home yet. There's somewhere I want to go." Since my revenge was complete, I definitely wanted to see how miserable Vivien looked. So I asked him to take me to the prison. I went in alone. Through the glass, I could clearly see the wounds on Vivien's face and hands. This must be the special care Noah had arranged for her and Brent. When she saw me, she gritted her teeth in anger. "Mia Rivers, not killing you is the biggest regret of my life." Looking at her in this state, I actually felt she was quite pitiful. Whether in the previous life or this one, she was always so selfish. Every time, she made choices for her own benefit. She thought her choices would let her live well for the rest of her life, while making me suffer. But she forgot that to change one's fate, you can't just rely on men. You can rely on yourself too. If she had chosen to rely on herself, maybe she wouldn't be in such a miserable state today. "Vivien, seeing you in such a bad state makes me feel really good," I said softly, my face full of smiles. Vivien was shaking with anger, her vicious gaze looking like she wanted to cut me into 1,000 pieces. "Why? Why did I switch men with you, but you're still living so well?" I laughed out loud. "Vivien, you can't just look at the surface of things. You thought I was happy in my previous life, but actually, I went through the same torment you did. As for Noah, I don't know how you offended him to make him treat you that way. I think he's a good man. How did you manage to mess things up with him? Also, happiness is something you have to fight for yourself. If you had changed your vicious mindset a bit, maybe you would have fared better." Vivien couldn't contain her anger anymore and shouted, "Just you wait. There will be another life, and I'll definitely win over you then." "But Vivien, do you think rebirth is easy? Heaven won't give you another chance. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. You'll live as a prisoner and die as a prisoner's ghost." My words completely shattered what was left of her sanity. She smashed the phone and started pounding on the glass with her hands, looking at me with a ferocious expression as if she wanted to devour me. The prison guards immediately subdued her with stun batons and took her back to her cell. She would never be able to turn her life around now. After Vivien was imprisoned, our stepmother completely broke down, crying at home all day. I deliberately sent an anonymous text message telling her that our dad knew Brent was a psychopath but still wanted Vivien to marry him for the engagement gifts. When the stepmother found out, she went after our dad with a knife. They ended up killing each other. When I saw this news, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, my whole body relaxing. At this moment, Noah came out of the shower. He hugged me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. "Honey, now that everything's over, can you give me a child?" "Huh? You really love me?" I exclaimed in surprise. He chuckled, picking me up and laying me on the bed, then pressing down on top of me. His hot breath tickled my ear. "Why else would I help you get revenge? Mia Rivers, I like you. I've liked you for 2 lifetimes." So, he had always been the one destined for me. How lucky that we still have plenty of time to walk the rest of our path together. Let him tell me how his love for me began 2 lifetimes ago. #### Noah's side story. When I was 16, I was just a small-time thug in the city. I had no money, no power, and even putting food on the table was a struggle. I remember one day when it was snowing heavily, I was wearing only a thin shirt, huddled in a doghouse trying to keep warm. A girl about my age found me. I thought she would look down on me. But to my surprise, she secretly brought me back to her bedroom, let me take a shower, and gave me a fluffy pajama to wear. She even made me a bowl of egg noodles. It was the most delicious food I had ever eaten in my life. It also let me see a glimmer of light in my dark world. Later, she found me a place to stay and brought me food every day. She said that when she made a lot of money in the future, she would let me live in a house she bought. A 16-year-old girl, promising to give me a home. That girl was Mia Rivers. Later, I was taken in by the Yates family and never saw Mia again. The next time I saw her was when I was choosing my future wife. I recognized her at first glance. I thought she would recognize me too and agree to marry me. But she chose my assistant instead, saying she liked him. So, out of spite, I married her sister, Vivien. Then, Vivien asked me to fire Brent and drive Mia and him out of the city. That's when I realized the woman in front of me wasn't a good person. So I locked her in the basement and tortured her in every way I could think of. Then, at work, I always intentionally showed concern for Mia. I thought she would recognize me. But she still didn't, and she seemed quite happy with Brent. I even caught her with a nosebleed once. She said she was sick. I felt terrible and quickly gave her money for treatment. Then I went back and thought about it. If she liked Brent, I should let her go and be happy. So I voluntarily handed over my company to Brent, letting him take good care of Mia. Then, I committed suicide. Since the person I loved didn't love me, there was no meaning in living anymore. After death, my soul saw Vivien kill Mia. I also saw that Brent had never treated her well. I was so angry, I wanted to kill everyone who had hurt Mia. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn. This time, Vivien chose Brent. And Mia agreed to marry me. I knew they must have been reborn too. I secretly vowed to myself. I would definitely help Mia get rid of everyone who had hurt her, one by one. Now, Mia and I have finally done it. In the days to come, I'll slowly tell her.